Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Wandavision Episode 5, and right off the bat, we see that Monica is okay, but there are some issues with her x-rays and blood work, and what we see here is that her x-rays are coming back like completely white, and her blood work is coming back and there's just nothing there. So it seems like she's gotten her powers and she'll eventually play with those. Whether or not we'll get to see that this season or we'll see them in Captain Marvel 2, which I'm pretty sure she's going to be in, that'll be interesting. But regarding Captain Marvel, she might have a little bit of beef with Captain Marvel. Don't know why, but when she's brought up, she just dodges the question. So interesting dynamic there. We'll have to see whether or not she gets right with Captain Marvel or whether or not there's anything there. Maybe we're looking too far into it, maybe we're not. But the twins, like Wanda's pregnancy, are aging up very fast, and now they have the ability to age whenever they want to. So they go from babies and then all of a sudden they're 5 years old. Agnes comes over and she basically offers help to Vision and Wanda, and they are in desperate need of it, but then Vision declines because he's nervous, he's a new father, and all of a sudden Agnes just kind of slips out and she says, "You want to take it from the top?" Because apparently I don't think that was supposed to happen, where Vision said no. So Vision sees this and Wanda does nothing to fix it. She doesn't do a jump cut like before, but it makes you wonder. It seems like Agnes and Wanda are working together in some sort of capacity, but I'll get to some more stuff with Agnes in a minute. So Vision is very defensive about Agnes, and we'll see him become even more defensive as the episode goes on. The kids wind up getting a dog, and then the dog winds up being this whole plot point, and Vision seems to recognize that things are happening way too coincidentally, like he's actually figuring out that things aren't right. It's not a sitcom, because Agnes shows up immediately after Vision realizes there's a dog with a dog house. Definitely seems like Agnes knows more than we're being led to believe, and I think I'll have my own theory about that towards the end of this little recap and theorizing and review, whatever you want to call it. Wanda basically is talking to the kids, and the Vision and Wanda have had a sort of disagreement, so Vision just went to work. I wonder if they'll get divorced in the show. I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up doing that. But we see Vision is showing email to Norm, and they actually intercept an actual email from Darcy about Sword and the Maximoff anomaly. And this is interesting. It shows that now they're able to communicate inside Westview to the outside, with the exception of radio in the previous episodes. But everybody who's not Vision and Wanda see this and they're just like, whatever, it's a joke. And then Vision is like, no, this isn't a joke. So he turns off the computer and then he touches Norm's head and basically brings out the real Norm, the actual person, and not the person that Norm is playing, which is Norm. I probably worded that weird. And the dude is in panic, and we learn that he's under the same symptoms that Monica had, which is grief, fear, and what was the other one? Violation, or whatever it was. So we see that, and we clearly see that he's panicking. He has no clue what's going on, and he says to stop her. Now Monica said that it's Wanda. She heard his voice, or her voice, in her head, so I think it has to be Wanda unless somebody else is pretending to be Wanda. I did think that maybe it wasn't Wanda based on when he said you need to stop her, because he wasn't name dropping Wanda. But I don't know, maybe that'll change, but I don't think they can do it now that Monica said it was Wanda's voice in her head. So the dog tries to basically leave the house, I've heard some people say that the dog doesn't want to be there, and that's why the dog allegedly kept trying to kill itself, because we see the dog mess with the socket, and the sockets go off, and that's how he gets his name Sparky. And then we learn by the end what happens. But as they're going out to search for the dog after the dog left, we find out that they're sending in an 80s drone into Westview, because they figured out that when stuff goes in, it changes according to the era, so why not send something that is already a part of that era? So they send in an 80s drone, and they're looking at it through like this black and white footage, and then Wanda sees it, but she's not showing it on the broadcast, and she looks up, and she gives those creepy eyes, which are like, back the hell off eyes, and all of a sudden feed goes black, and then we learn that she is able to exit this reality whenever she chooses. So we get this really cool scene, and it's also kind of freaky when she comes out, and I think she's in full costume. The lighting is kind of hard to tell, but she comes out in full costume, and she's like, "Is this yours?" and just throws the drone or the missile right back at him. And this is interesting. I thought I heard her accent come back in the previous episodes when she gets defensive, and I think I was right, because she definitely has her accent back here. Makes me wonder why she didn't really have it in Infinity War and Endgame. I know they said it's like she was being undercover, but there were plenty of scenes where she didn't need to use that accent undercover, so I don't know. Maybe it's something that just comes out when she's under high stress, but then again, she fought Thanos without an accent. So, also, speaking of Thanos, there were these really neat little Easter eggs when they're like, Wanda was the only one who could get close to Thanos and have like a fighting chance, like she nearly killed him. And then Wu goes, I think Captain Marvel came pretty close, which led to the whole Monica, maybe she's not a fan of Captain Marvel anymore. Earlier in the episode, we learn this is how they sent the 80s drone in. We learned that Wanda has the ability to change reality, but when things change, they still keep some of the properties. So when Monica got sent in, she was wearing like a Kevlar vest, and it turns out her clothes still retain bulletproof properties. It was still somehow Kevlar, but they just changed the look. So that's where they get the idea to send in a bulletproof, or not a bulletproof, an 80s drone. So, looking forward to see what they do next, because they got to send something in there. I think I saw in the promos they wind up doing that tank thing that was like really heavy and comprised of protons and neutrons, whatever they were saying. So they do that, but if it weren't, like, even without the spoiler at the end, this would have been a great episode. But Wanda is becoming very villain-y, and I think my theory that I posted last week might actually have a little bit of credibility, and I'll get into that now. So Agnes, when she has the dead dog, she's standing there with Wanda, and Wanda has her kids there, and the kids are like, "You can change death," and Agnes kind of slips and goes, "You can do that?" And Wanda's like, "No, I can't do that. We need to accept death, even though it can be scary," which is weird considering that she brought Vision back somehow. So, but my working theory here is that I think Agnes is interested in the children because she never had children, and she's always wanted them. And when she perked up and said, "You can do that," I think maybe she was thinking that Wanda could bring her children back if they died, if Agnes had children and they died. But Agnes has some sort of interest in the children, the whole town does, and even Vision brings it up in the really tense moment toward the end where Vision is like, "Where are all the children?" And he makes a valid point. Like, every time he walks by a playground, there's no children. But this scene is interrupted, and I'll get into that. But before that, Vision says, I have to believe it was subconscious at first, but then you only recently became aware of it. And Wanda says she didn't even know how it started, implying that she has no clue how this false reality got started, but now she's aware of it and now she's controlling it. Or maybe she's always been aware of it and she's lying. I don't know. But the doorbell rings and Vision thinks that she's the one causing the doorbell to ring, and she seems very genuine. She's like, no, I didn't do that. And you go to open the door, and here is the cool twist of the episode. So apparently Quicksilver from the X-Men movies, the Fox X-Men movies that is here. And apparently he just has been recast. According to Darcy, I think we all know that they have to be doing something with the multiverse here. But I think definitely Wanda was not responsible for that, because she seemed very genuine, and then when she looked at him, she was very confused, and she goes, Pietro, and then Quicksilver doesn't really give a yes answer. He goes, huh? Like, huh? Like one of those, and gives her a hug, and they seem very confused, and then that's the end of the episode. Okay, so what do I think about this big twist at the end of the episode? Well, we know this connects to Doctor Strange 2, as I've been saying, and Doctor Strange 2 connects into Spider-Man 3, and we know that Doctor Strange 2, at the very least, is definitely a multiverse movie based on its title alone. But we also know of the castings for Spider-Man 3. We've heard Willem Dafoe's going to be in it, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx, possibly even Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone, possibly. So we know that that has to be a multiverse movie. Not only that, Doctor Strange is in the movie, and hopefully Daredevil is in the movie. But if Marvel actually brought over Fox's Quicksilver into this, that means that anything else is on the table, meaning Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, and basically any other obscure Marvel movie, Blade with Wesley Snipes, or Ang Lee's Hulk, stuff like that. So, but this all depends on whether or not this is that Quicksilver from the X-Men movies. If not, it's still a cool little nod, but I think what the dead giveaway will be here is if this Quicksilver has powers. Because another theory I had is, well, maybe this is just an actual person in Westview that has been cast as Pietro. But then I thought, no, they wouldn't have given him white hair. So I do think that this is the multiverse Fox X-Men version of Quicksilver, and I'm looking forward to see what they do, because now this essentially canonizes anything that has been Marvel. It is now most likely a part of the multiverse if this whole X-Men thing is true. A lot of people give those movies shit, but there are a decent amount of them that are good. I think X-Men 1, X-Men 2, I think those are good movies. X-Men 3 is alright. Origins you can just completely erase from your memory. The Wolverine, that's a good movie. First Class, amazing movie. Days of Future Past is my favorite X-Men movie that exists. Apocalypse wasn't bad. A lot of people say it's garbage. I don't think it is. And then of course we get into Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, but you know what? Whatever. I'm fine with the whole multiverse thing, because if it's the multiverse, then that means they still have yet to introduce the native mutants of the MCU. But even if they don't do that, like let's say they merge universes with the Fox X-Men and the MCU, if they make it work, then you know what, I'm fine with that, because you have good casting there, especially if you keep McAvoy and the other characters like I forget the actor that plays Magneto, I forget his name, but he's a really good actor. I don't think some of this stuff could work though, but if it's the multiverse, then you know what, I'm all down for it. So I'm really looking forward to episode 6, especially now that we know Quicksilver is going to be a part of it. and there are leaks out there that I stumbled upon when looking upon promos for episode 6. I was scrolling through YouTube and boom, there it was, and it looks like we're in for some very interesting stuff. I won't get into it, but yeah, episode gets a 10 out of 10 for me. It might lose a point if they describe that Quicksilver isn't from the X-Men universe and that he's just a normal guy or whoever. But this is the first real mutant reference that we've had in the MCU. So yeah, but I do have a theory as to how he got here, because Wanda, I'm like 100% sure, didn't bring him. I think her kids brought him though, because when her kids asked if she had a brother, Wanda goes, yeah, but he's very far away, and that makes me sad. So the kids, somehow, because they have powers of their own and Wanda can't control them, maybe looked for something, her brother far away, and found the wrong brother. This is going to be a very interesting show. I can't wait to see how it plays out. I hope you guys like this format, and you know what? I've got a pretty good feeling about it. Subscribe, like, and fave, and I'll see you guys in the next video.